channel. We are still trying to make literature more interesting and easier for your comprehension and understanding. One key thing that you have to be aware of in life is that people make promises not because they intend to keep those promises, but they make those promises because they want to use them as a way to get what they want. And this has been the focus of our discussion on Animal Farm, where the pigs or the animals rebel against leadership, but their rebelliousness did not end the way they expected, that they didn't achieve their aims. I have had a discussion with you on chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then another time 5, 6, 7. Today we are looking at chapter 8. Chapter 8 is quite interesting because it came immediately after chapter 7, which presents Napoleon as a complete or a total dictator who was forcing the animals to kind of obey and respect him against their will. Therefore, I can term chapter 8 as a chapter of personality cult, where he became like a god to be worshipped, a chapter of redefinition of failure as victory. Now, Napoleon kept transforming, and by this chapter, he has transformed from being a leader to be an object of worship. He has managed to teach the animal to attribute every success to him, and this is the logic of personality cult. And this logic is that the leader becomes the source of food, safety, wisdom, victory, history, anything positive is attributed to the leader. He was praised not out of admirations, but necessity. Now, every good thing is associated to Napoleon. So the regime makes gratitude a form of obedience. You must show gratitude as a sign that you obey. So if you don't show gratitude, it means you are not obedient and you'll be in trouble. If the animals eat, Napoleon must be thanked. If the farm survived, Napoleon must be thanked or praised. He becomes the focus of everything good and positive. Then the poem about Napoleon is especially important because it converts politics into worship. The poem presents him as protective, generous, parental, a guardian. And these are key elements of dictatorship. The leader becomes the father and the people become dependent children. That is dictatorship. And this is what you get in this chapter. These are the attributes that Napoleon demonstrated in this chapter. Then he changed, hi, you are welcome. That's Job Job and Rahab. You are warmly welcome to the channel. If you have any questions, you can just leave it in the comment section. I'll respond to you. So Napoleon changed the commandment, the original commandment. But one key one that is worth mentioning here is the changing of the commandment about alcohol. The rule is not openly abandoned, they rather edited it. And this actually preserves the illusion of continuity, but it also permits betrayal. So here I think what George Orwell is trying to do is to inform us that Dictatorship or dictatorial regime, they do not merely break the rules or the laws, rather they edit them to favor themselves, to favor their aims, what they want to achieve. They will write laws so that the laws will appear to endorse their actions. Perfectly put this way. Now, there's another layer of corruption that has actually been exposed in this chapter. That is how Napoleon dealt with Frederick and Pickerington. Now, the fund was founded on opposition to humans. You are aware of that. I did explain that. But now, or yet, Napoleon is now negotiating with them in secret. So the focus, the purpose of the fund has been abandoned. The ideological purity has been diluted. It has been abandoned for strategic advantage. It's no more what the group wants, but it is the advantage that he will get out of this. So you see the slogan on the screen, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, which is a very popular quote from this book, Animal Farm. It's been demonstrated over here. So one key thing that George Orwell, according to my understanding of this book, is trying to communicate here is the hypocrisy in politics. He's trying to critique the hypocrisy here. Now, Frederick's betrayal revealed Napoleon's weakness. Frederick's betrayal reveals Napoleon's fallibility. Now, he is deceived by forged banknotes. This actually undercuts the myth of his superior intelligence. So he's not so intelligent after all. If he were, he will not be easily deceived or defeated by this trick. But note, yet or but his regime survives because propaganda controls interpretation. His mistake did not weaken his authority because he has made all the animals to believe in him. So they were not allowed to interpret them independently. Their interpretations are still dependent on his interpretation. That's sad, but that is what politics or that is what dictatorianism or authoritarianism can do to an individual. In this case, the animals. So the destruction of the windmill is again transformed into political theater. All the animals suffered heavy losses, but Napoleon declared victory. And this is pure propaganda or the power of propaganda to rename reality. Mr. Frenzy, hello. You're welcome to the channel. Contributions are welcome. Hi. So a dictator, or in this case, let me generalize it by saying people with supreme power can rename reality because when the windmill got destroyed and the animals suffered so much losses, Napoleon was able to name it as victory or declare it as victory. And these people accepted it. Basically, conclusively, I can say that per my interpretations and analysis so far, chapter 8 shows matured dictatorship, matured authoritarianism. He became an authoritarian to the highest level, a worship leader, altering the law to favor himself, secret diplomacy with a supposed enemy, controlled interpretation when the windmill got destroyed. And the conversion of the losses they suffered into triumph of victory. That is basically what chapter 8 is all about. Now, let's look at chapter 9. There's other interesting stuff that we can look at in chapter 9. The boxers or the boxer, the propagandists, and the betrayal of labor. So basically, chapter 9 is the novel's most devastating critique of exploitation. It is the point where these people are being really exploited. It defines it. The boxer's fate actually reveals the true moral nature of Napoleon's regime or his regime. When I say his regime, I'm making reference to Napoleon. Boxer has given his body to the farm, his soul to the farm. His labor built the regime's material foundation. Yet, he has no real political protection. Nobody, Napoleon was nobody to protect him. And George Orwell presents him as the ultimate example of the loyal worker whose usefulness is celebrated until it is exhausted. You know, you are only seen relevant when you keep working. You are only celebrated when you remain relevant. His motto, I will work harder. Boxer's motto, I will work harder, becomes unbearable in this chapter because it has been exploited to the point of physical destruction to some of the animals. His virtue, boxer, his virtue has been turned against him. You see, Napoleon's political system does not need to force him constantly because he disciplines himself. And I think this is one of Orwell's insight into exploitation. Power is most efficient when the oppressed internalize the demand of the system. He does not need to be weak like others, maybe under Jones. He drives himself intrinsically. Now, pensions promise is also important here because it represents the regime's claim that sacrifice will eventually be rewarded. Most of us live in this kind of regimes where we have been psychologically, intellectually, morally, and emotionally suppressed to keep believing that there's going to be a reward or hard work. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. And this is seen in pensions promise. Now, Boxer believes in a future race that never arrives. George Orwell uses this to expose how political systems defer justice into the future. You know, don't worry, next time you get it. I think this is very important. I was telling somebody that the country where I come from, when it's time for campaigning for people to gain power, they come to make a lot of promises. But once they attain that power, they start deferring it. Their promises, I will do this, let's tackle this first. I came to meet these problems and these challenges. That's exactly what George Orwell is trying to reveal in the character of Boxer. Squalor. Squalor statistics about improving conditions are another major forms of propaganda. Even though the animals feel hungry, tired, and poor, but the numbers that were presented, the statistics, are used to contradict their experiences or their lived experiences or the experiences that they are living. Obviously, when it's an experience, you live it. This is not just land, it is historically domination. It is controlling someone. And this regime actually teaches the animal that official data is more reliable than their own body. I think till today this is still visible. This is still real. This is still possible. Historical data, official data, published data is more relevant than what you feel. Nobody knows it, nobody will believe it because the world moves with data, the world moves with statistics. Another iconic thing that I want us to look at in chapter 8 is the declaration of the farm as a republic. Now, a republic normally means public rule, ruled by the public, but Napoleon is the only candidate. So how is it a republic? Republic is everyone has opinion and everyone's opinion are respected. But in the case of Napoleon, no, that is not it. But he still declared the farm a republic. And this is a show that some countries, some regimes claim to be democratic or seems to use democratic languages, but without democratic substance, authoritarian. Elections, titles, committees, ceremonies, appointments all remain, but they are empty. I wish I can just put it simply, they are without portfolios. Now let's look at Benjamin's role, which becomes morally complex in this context. Benjamin can read, he can understand danger, he is able to recognize the truth about the van, but his intelligence has been politically inactive for most of the chapters in the novel. His failure is not ignorance, no, it is not, from my understanding, but detachment. Now, Boxer's sale to the knacker is the ultimate betrayal because it reduces him to economic value. The man that sacrificed everything and worked harder, quote and unquote, has been sold. And that actually reveals that he's not regarded much. After years of slogans about commercial, the regime treats his body as disposable property. It has been disposed and it's a property because once you have sold, it becomes a property or property. Now, in this sense, the pigs become worse than Jones, the humans. They exploit Boxer whilst claiming to love and honor him. Liars. I think most politicians are liars. I don't have the power to decide that. This is self-opinion, and literature allows me to express this opinion. So Squalor's life lies or lie about Boxer or Boxer's peaceful death is cruel because it colonizes greed. These animals are not even allowed to mourn truthfully. They were lied to, and the regime used it as a propaganda for a political gain or gimmicks. In short, everything I've discussed with you so far, I can say with all convictions that chapter 9 shows that revolution has not abolished exploitations, or revolutions will not abolish exploitations. it will rather make, or it can rather make, or it might rather make exploitations more emotionally manipulative. Under Jones, Boxer was a work animal. Under Napoleon, he is a comrade betrayed in the language of loyalty. So same treatment, different names, different descriptions. And that's it about revolution. Nice being with you today. It's been a lovely day and we had a lot to talk about. I'll post this video later. Leave your comments, whatever concerns you have. Any chapter you want me to explain again, just leave it and I'll do that. See you in the next chapter, chapter 10.